The Beretta Model A303. Ever wonder if a firearm could speak a different language? If you would have told me that before I got this thing, I would have told you were nuts. But this thing is definitely speaking Italian. And I never had the pleasure of learning how to speak Italian. This gun is teaching me, little by little. But oof, it's definitely speaking a different language. Let's check it out. Mobil Choke Garage. Yep, the Beretta Model A303. Here it is, in the flesh. What do we got here? 1986 manufacture. Very early for the A303. It's technically, the dates for this thing's lifespan was 87 to 96. It was the A302 that was from 82 to 87. So being an 86 dated gun makes this very early. And you can even tell by how it's equipped that it's very early. We'll get into that. Let's just cover what this thing actually is. It's a semi-automatic gas operated. There's a gas system in here. We're going to check that out. Gas operated 12 gauge 3-inch magnum chamber. These are supposedly just 3-inchers, but just cut to the chase right now. You can get away with 2 3/4 as long as you're not using complete wuss loads. I mean, if you're, I've 1 ounces, you might have a problem. Whatever. If you're an ounce and an eighth, you're fine. You know, even a lot of 1 ounces, if they're competent, like ammo, snappy. It's got to be a little snappy. That's all. You can't, if you got your like recoil reducing, 7/8 ounce wuss loads, you could forget about it. This thing definitely is going to need some punchy ammo to cycle reliably, with 2 3/4 inches. That is, it's a 30-inch barrel. It's got the Mobil Choke, so we have the removable choke. The capacity is 3 in the tube, 1 in the chamber, 3 plus 1. And it is made in Italy. This isn't one of those like guns that it's like Italian, but it's made here, or parts are assembled here. Whatever. This is just imported straight up, just as you see it right here from Italy. And these were super popular. It was the Model 303 was one of those ones that like was a pinnacle. It shined. It had a huge following. People that loved it. It was a big deal back in the day. And in 1986, this being a year where they changed a lot of things. But even though this is a 303, it still has most of the 302 equipped stuff, like this switch right here. Which should we cover that immediately? I don't know. Let's just cover what it looks like first, and then we'll get into that. So yeah, really nice wood on here. There's no, the Italians didn't believe in soft, butt plates. This is just a rock solid butt plate here with the Beretta emblem. Gorgeous wood, beautiful checkering. Look at this. This is like hand checkering still. So what do we got on here? We got patented over there. We got Beretta over here. What am I doing? Let's zoom a little bit. Some of this is small, and this way we could really get into it. Yeah, that's much better. Made in Italy. They are not fooling. What do we have over here? Bourbon Corporation, New York, New York. That's going to be important. This is another thing. This is how this gun is kind of like part of the older group, although it's the 303 name on it would put it part of the newer group. It's mostly older group stuff. meaning that, and again, magnum, P. Beretta, made in Italy. 12 gauge, 3-inch, 30-inch barrel. Anything else on here? I think that's about it. We got the Beretta script, model A303, caliber 12. So, yeah, and then we'll take a look down here in a minute. This stuff is important. Where was I? Oh, the importer. The importer there, Bourbon. This was just before the change to Beretta USA. So you don't see many of these A303s tagged with that import mark. Because of that, this is one of the last of the, and they used them as an importer for a long, long time. So how do we date these? How do I get 1986? There it is right there, the AP. You could go online, I think, even right on Beretta's website, even still to this day, right now, you could put in that 2-letter code. It's going to be in a box just like that. That's what it's going to look like. That's how you date these things. And AP comes back to 1986. And then we got some proof marks on here, some other stuff. Interesting. Nitro. Does that say nitro? No, it says F. Not even sure. You could, it's speaking a different language. So this is what I'm talking about. You know, even start to get familiar even with these Belgian proofs, but the Italian ones, I'm lost. That made in Italy right on there though. That's all you need to know. Yeah, so it was the A302 had this switch right here. Let's go back to that. That's right. I don't want to get lost on this. This they call a magazine cutoff. I'm just going to tell you right away before I forget. It's not really a magazine cutoff. They call it that. It doesn't really have any effect on the magazine really at all. It doesn't. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Well, I don't even know where to go with this thing. Let's take a look at the function. This is what I'm talking about, how it speaks a different language. Because this I figured out. I figured out enough Italian to speak this gun's language enough to know how to do this. I'm going to show you all the different buttons on here. A lot of these buttons we don't know about because we don't speak this language. Down here, here's the lifter. There's a button right here. I just pressed it. You heard it. It made a click. It's a button. That does something. So what that does is it opens up, it locks the lifter, number one. If there was a magazine, around in the magazine, it would come out onto the lifter, underneath the bolt. So you're actually in control of that, which is weird. Let's just pull the trigger and reset everything. I didn't even reset that. That didn't even reset that. That will reset that. Let's say I have a round in the magazine. So that's what that does. Like I could pull that round. That round now just came out of the magazine and it's underneath here. It's ready to be loaded. Snap caps, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, of course. The all empty, nothing inside, no primer, snap caps. Okay, so I don't know which button to talk about first. This is so crazy. All right, so I learned that if I press this button, that'll hold the bolt open, you see, because without pressing that button, if I want to load this for trap, I'd have to use two hands because the bolt just comes forward. So I have to press that to lock the bolt back. I could drop around in, then press that button, fire, it's going to eject, and when it ejects, it's going to leave the bolt back and the breech open to load another round. Same thing now. Press the button, call for the bird, fire, it's going to eject, it's going to leave it open. There you go. That's all I need to know is that when I first walk up, I hit that button on the bottom and I can shoot around the trap. I learned how to speak that much of its language. But check this out now. Say you want to start doing like skeet with it or doubles, right? Now, drop around in here. I close it. I load the mag. Now dig this. When you have any other shotgun, there's something that, like, like the older Italian dudes do this when they're shooting doubles. When you have any other shotgun, when you pull the trigger, all it does is drop the firing pin on the round, fire that round, and then the bolt moving, starting to do its thing, is going to release the cartridge, stop, with actuate the lifter to bring the next round up, eject, bring the next round in. It's all going to happen from the mechanism. It's not going to have anything to pull the trigger. All that's going to do is drop the hammer or drop whatever is hitting the firing pin. That's all it's doing. Not with this guy. With this guy, we're speaking a different language. Now watch. All I'm going to do, I'm going to pull the trigger here. You watch this round that's next up in the magazine tube. It's in here. It's in the magazine tube. It won't come any further. Okay? But watch when I pull the trigger. Watch what it does. I don't know if you saw that, but it's gone. That's the follower right there. That round is now, of course, when I did that, when I fired, this would have come back and ejected. Oh, sorry, that went up and right back in, but that would have ejected. And then it would have picked up the next round. But watch that again. Just pulling the trigger actually does more than just hit that round. It's controlling what's the next round already. So these older gentlemen, okay, that play around with these shotguns, what they'll do is they'll load this. There's the reason why this button is here. They'll load this. So now they're ready to go to shoot their double. Press this button. That puts the next round already underneath. If I open this up, you could see them both. It's in there. See it down there? They're both here. So that it normally would not do that. It normally, I mean, it's an explosion going on. I'm trying to simulate that with my hand, but trust me, this thing does not choke on shells like that. But it would make it, supposedly, they say that this design is that way so you can control this, so you can bring this round under here, into here, ready to go, so it's very fast to the next round, to when you fire. Okay, that's one thing. This is its language that we're speaking right here. I'm going to show you something else. This is not a magazine cutoff, even though people say that that's what it is. I'm going to give you an example. We're going to put a round in the magazine, okay? And I'm getting my finger stuck in there, doing it this way. You're really supposed to be thumbing it in this way, you know what I mean? Working on a table like this doesn't really work so great. So now let's say I want to, well, let's drop a round in too. You see that cycling the bolt has nothing to do with what goes on with what's in the magazine unless you pull the trigger. That's why it's like super intelligent. In other words, any other shotgun, you take, like, I'm just going to use, for example, a Remington 1100, but it could be any other shotgun. I got a million of them. When you have a round in here and you cycle the bolt, you're going to pull that round up there. But like this thing, it demands the user's commands. You're in control of everything here. So like you might not want the round to come up out of there. You might want to, what if I'm sitting here like this and I say, you know what? I got to, I want that round out of there. But you have a full tube here. But I want that round out. There's no way to get that round out without unloading the whole gun. With this thing, you don't have to touch anything. Just the way it sits, without pulling the trigger, you could just cycle it and get this round out. And now do whatever you got to do. The gun's empty. If you pull the trigger, there's no round in there. It's not going to fire, but the tube is full. Then you could change this out and then say, all right, I want a different round. And you drop that in and you go like that. So the magazine is cut off automatically. It's automatically a cutoff. What this does, what is this switch then? This switch is a bolt hold open. That's its job. That's all it does. When you flip this switch, the bolt gets held open. That's what it does. Even if I drop around here and press this button, nothing. This will hold the bolt open, period. It'll make it safe where even if the gun's loaded, even if you left this in here, sitting in here like this. In other words, let's turn it off. Let's just say it's sitting like this. You put this on, you just open this up like this. You could leave this round in there. So let's say that was just because you wanted to climb a fence or just put the gun down for a second. You just wanted to make sure it's locked open, but it's not going to fire. It's the ultimate in safety. It has a cross bolt safety here, but the ultimate in safety is that now it's locked open. No matter what happens, the bolt's not going to close. Even the pressing this button, pressing this, nothing does anything. And then when you're done with whatever you're doing, you turn it back off. You close the bolt with the round chambering, or you could decide I want to open it up and change that round. So you could put the bolt hold open on, eject this, dig around in your pack, come up with a different type of load, drop that in, close that down. Pretty cool, right? This is the language I started to learn, but there's other stuff. There's other stuff that's just completely mind-blowing, like putting this on. See if I can remember this now. Hitting that. How did I do this again? I don't remember. It was switching places. If you wanted to switch spots. How did this go again? So you have a round in the chamber and a round in the magazine, but you want the one in the mag you want in the chamber, and the one in the chamber you want to put back in the mag. How to do that? I'm trying to remember. I think you put this on, eject this. Right. So now you have this in your hand. Then you close this, hit that, cycle, and go there. That's the way to do it, but there was an even quicker way that I found, but I can't remember what I did. And I also know that there was a way to, I remember correctly. I'm losing it. I couldn't. I'm trying to remember. There was a way where the round in the magazine flew out into my hand right here, but I can't put it together. I can't remember how to do that. Unreal. All right. We'll play around a little bit later. Let's take it apart. Let's take a look at what's going on inside. That's another language too. We take the cap off here. Slide off the forend. What kind of gas system do we have here? Well, it's pretty cool. I'll tell you that. It is pretty cool. So the barrel will come right off. This is very similar to what we've seen on, like, say, American shotguns, But the piston, this is much different. See how it actuates on this ring here around the magazine tube. And this is the piston. This is the gas piston. It fits in here. Rides inside of here. When it gets back to a certain distance, it blows off through here. And that goes right out here. You could feel it if you're holding it. You got your hand up close to here. You feel the puff of air coming through here every time you shoot. So it has kind of like a bleed off, but not the older ones after this, not older, the newer ones after this one. they had a system that bleeded off gas differently, where it was better. It was better shooting both 2 3/4 and 3 inch loads. This one you kind of had like a barrel for each one, either 2 3/4 or 3 inch. Still worked pretty good. The 3 inch barrel, still 3 inch setup, still was able to, if you keep it clean. So you got to get in here. I can't really tilt it enough to look in there, but inside of here, there's 2 holes that bleed off gas into this chamber right here, and that's what pushes on this. Gotta get that in there. That's what pushes on this piston that moves this, that cycles the bolt. That's how the gas system here works. And these bleed holes that bleed off the gas, you just have to make sure that they're clean. Don't go crazy. Some people say put a drill bit in it and just clean it out good. I don't know, I don't know about drill bit. I would use wood, like a toothpick, because changing the size of those, even if you use a drill bit with your hand turning it, you can be taking metal off, and it makes a big difference. It changes things. So I wouldn't mess around with a drill bit for just cleaning. The drill bit would be for if you're widening the holes to change something. So be careful. I saw a lot of things online that say clean it out with a drill bit, and not a good idea. Solvent and paper clip if you have to. You know what I mean? But even that, be careful with. Yeah. So it's nice vent rib barrel here, and here, let's take a look at some of these barrel markings. Oh, and I don't want to forget. Never get an opportunity to show you, but I noticed. Took this thing to the range today, and I noticed that the bead. Let's do that right now. I noticed that the bead on the barrel. I always tell you about this, and I never have an opportunity to get in here. So the bead on the barrel was dirty. See how that looks? Might not seem like it's dirty, but when you just give it just a wipe with a silver cleaning cloth, jewelry cloth, look at the difference. It shines. I don't know why, but the camera never really picks that up that much. But it makes it a lot shinier. It definitely makes it where you can pick it up a whole lot easier. You definitely can. What else? The markings. Let's check out the markings on the barrel. All right, let's turn it around. Get it this way, right? Yeah. So over here we have its own serial number. Now, I don't know, this does not match the gun. I don't know if this, maybe it means it's not the original barrel, or they just serial numbered the barrels separately. I would think this is the original barrel. Not only that, it has the same date, the AP date. Thinking that maybe they just serial numbered the barrels different. That's what I'm thinking. Not much information on this guy online to find out what the hell's going on with that kind of stuff. It's tough, actually, to find online information for this guy. What's next? Next, we're going to see this right here. Do not mess with this. Don't think that you just stick a screwdriver in this slot right here and unscrew this, because you don't. There is a, right over here, I don't know if you could see it. I went in here once a long time ago. Press that in. And I don't remember if this unscrews. I think it unscrews. But that, you have to press that in to be able to release it. I think that's why I went in here to take the plug out, so I could go from 2 to 3 rounds in the tube. And I just remember it being a little bit of a pain in the ass. But don't think that you just turn that. It does not just turn without releasing that pin. And as far as getting the action apart, we push it back a touch like this, right around to over there somewhere, and we pull the bolt handle right out. You kind of get a feel for that distance right there. And And that's, then we get the bolt handle out. And then let's see, make a little room over there. Now, everything is all going to come out. And I just want to keep it all together so we can take a look at exactly what it looks like. So then it comes out looking like this. And when you first take it out, before anything gets all moved around, you take it out like this just so you could look to see what's going on. You got this lever right here. Okay, so that doesn't come off. If you turn it over, you'll see that you have the bolt. Half of it is this arm right here that clips in here. And then on the other side, you have this carrier that hooks underneath here. And this is an excellent design. It's definitely a different language than what we're used to, but it works really cool. And that's what it looks like. Easy to clean, put back together, and then we rotate it back around, orientate it the same way. Go in here, make sure we're around the magazine tube. Set it all in the receiver. And this lever right here, we aim right at the spring. Nope. That was not it. Let's turn this over. I'm doing it kind of upside down. Maybe it would be easier to do it this way. No, because you kind of need to hold it together, but you need to be able to manipulate this arm right here. I notice it either happens right away or it takes forever to do it. One or the other. There we go. So once you got that in the right spot, you kind of try to approximate the same distance again. Get the bolt handle in here and push it in. And there we go. Yep. So here, bear with me when I reassemble, because I don't want to take it apart again. Let's clean some stuff off here of hand oils. Here is our piston. We take the barrel. Let's clean off the part of the barrel that we're not going to be touching. Let's lock the bolt open. How do we do it again? Right under here. Lock open. See, that comes in handy. To be able to lock the bolt open and control the magazine, whether it's feeding rounds or not, well, that's pretty cool. In there, and then be right over here. What's going on? Why does it not seem to be lining up? Let's just take a step out and take a step back in. There we go. Sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to step out and take a step back in. Now, one thing that you have to be careful of is this movement here. This doesn't happen during recoil, by the way. This right here. It's just kind of like under spring pressure when you put it together. So you have to pay attention here. Because you can put this together but it's not 100% together. You have to make sure. See, right now, you're exposing enough threads just to get the cap on. Are you? Maybe not. Let's get it here. We can get the cap on just to hold it. And you gotta pay attention right here. This gap right here, you have to make sure the wood goes in all the way. You'll see it when you get there. There we go. See what I'm saying? Takes a little manipulating. Then you just take up the slack on that and you're good. So you don't want to see a gap right there. And actually, when it's together, and I thought this was just mine, but I've picked these up in gun stores. They all feel the same way. There's a little bit of looseness here. And I think they do that so that when everything gets hot, it doesn't split the wood. You see a lot of the old, like, I want to say, cheaper, the shotguns, that little more inexpensive shotguns, sometimes you see cracks along here where the wood's being pushed up and out, like chipping. And that's because you see this little gap there. There is just enough of a gap so that if the wood and the metal don't heat up and contract and expand at different rates. And I think that's why they do that. But that little bit of looseness doesn't bother me or anything else. It's nice. So, what else we got? How does it feel? Listen, I got a whole lot of shooting footage with this thing. I don't even know what to include for you. The last time I did a video, I put in a full game of trap. That was with the New Haven 600 AT. And I kind of liked having a full game in there. That game I had shot at 20. And this guy, I did 4 games. Let me remember now. I think I shot 15, a 21, a 22, and an 18. So it fell off. It definitely fell off. I thought that last game was going to be my 25 with it. You know, this is a very tough gun for me to shoot with. It's frustrating. I'll get 3 stations with 5s, and then all of a sudden a station with a 1. And I'm noticing, doing this with the trap long enough to actually start to really be able to analyze myself, my shooting well, and see what's going on. Of course, it's really hard to analyze yourself where you're blaming yourself. It's easier to analyze other things. If you could just fix everything that goes on with yourself, you'd be a champion. You know, I think that's where you start entering the realm of being really good. I notice that with this gun, it's very important to maintain a cheek weld. It's light, and because it's an alloy receiver, it's lighter than what I'm used to. I'm used to these big clunky old shotguns, and the fact that it's light means that when I'm swinging, I run away a lot of times. Like I'm swinging a little too hard. I notice that I'm out in front. And a lot of times when they're high, if the wind blows them, the wind catches them where they go up high, and I have to swing the gun upwards, I'm shooting over it. And when they go out to the right or to the left, I'm ahead of it. Because it's so light that muscle memory I have to swing and shoot is off by just enough where that's why the scores would be really all over the place, because I'm just dependent on movement of the gun. So if the clays are coming up in a certain area where I don't have to swing far, I'm hitting them. And then if I have to swing far for them, that's where I would be having the problems. And that's why the scores would be kind of just like all over the place. It's like, how could you shoot a 15 and then a 22 the next game? You know, like, there's a big difference between a 15 and a 22. You know what I mean? And that's what it would be. It would just be luck of the draw that a game that has a lot of errant clays, you're going to have trouble with. And And I noticed that's kind of like how it would always be when you're starting to learn this game. But as you improve, you kind of improve in all areas, so that you improve with ones that are errant to the sides, you improve on ones that are just straight, you improve on all your weak spots, and your games start to become more consistent. So I'm like a consistent, I can consistently shoot 22s, 21s, and then bringing it in, like just having to concentrate and get those last three, the three that you're missing every game, to hit those. That's where the magic of getting the 25 would come in. But with this thing, it's just, it was very, very hard to bring it together. I kind of felt like I would have to really spend a lot of time with it to really get used to the weight. It's super light, and it's just incredibly pointable, and like nose heavy. Like that's what happens with the nose heavy guns. That's what happens when you have like light wood, light receivers, but like a magnum barrel. You know what I mean? And plus, it's like a removable choke barrel, so it's like I think those are made a little bit fatter near the nose to be able to have the screw-in choke in there. You know what I mean? So it's like it's got a lot of things going against it as far as weight, even though it's a light shotgun. So, to make a long story short, if that's even possible at this point, I kind of just felt like it was all over the place. I just kind of felt like it just mattered that the ones I didn't have to chase, I was right on top of them. It felt really good. I had to cover them a little bit, which I don't really like, but I've like that's why the cheek weld was important. If you're not cheek welding really good, then you have to cover your targets with your sight picture, and when you have to cover these clays, you don't really see them that great, and you're gonna miss more. But if you get a really good cheek weld, all you should see is receiver and bead. You shouldn't see any barrel. If you see a piece of that vent rib, a piece of the barrel between the receiver and your bead, that means that you don't have the cheek weld. You're not down in there good enough. You should just see receiver and bead. And with this gun, if I got that receiver, the bead right on the receiver, and the clay right over the bead, I was hitting it. Um, so it's not the gun. Obviously, it's never the gun. But I just, when I had to be on the move, I noticed I was way out in front all the time, and it was something that was very difficult to adjust for. It's almost like muscle memory. It's almost like switching the gas and the brake pedal in a car. It doesn't really seem like that big of a deal. You go like, oh, yeah, well, all right, the brake's going to be on the right and the gas is going to be on the left. What's the big deal? It's like, it might not seem like that big of a deal. It's not really that big of a change. It should be something that you should just, everything else on the car is the same. You should be fine. But you're gonna have a day with that. There's gonna be a lot of close calls going on, because just that muscle memory is so there, from what you're used to. It's just so different from what you're used to. So yeah, so that was uh that was my footage right there. That was my shooting footage. I hope that was enough for you. I shot 4 rounds with it and had a great time. I had this gun for a long time, and 1986 I turned 18 years old. That was a big year for me. Um, and remember it. So I kind of like the gun for that. I kind of like it for the year it was made. And 1987 to 96 is the vintage of this guy. And Beretta moved on to some other cool guns. And then this thing hit the history books. A couple of things I got here for you. Let's see. Where are my papers? Okay. So you can download an instruction book for this thing online. It's all over the place. But like I said, this is the 303, and you see that I'm not going to call this a magazine cutoff anymore. I'm going to call it a bolt hold open, just so that people that think they know what it is go like, that's not a bolt hold open, that's a magazine cutoff. Yeah, what's it cutting off? What's it cutting off? Here, let me ask you. If I put a round in the magazine, okay? Let's put a round in the magazine. Let's put a round in the chamber, okay? I'm going to hit the magazine cutoff. There you go. I'm hitting the magazine cutoff. Bang. I fire this. It ejects. The bolt closes. Why did it lock open? Oh, it will lock open. It will. It's a bolt hold open. It will hold the bolt open. But it didn't stop that round from coming out of the magazine, though, did it? I just bugged out on that. I was just like, why didn't the bolt close? The bolt didn't close because it's a bolt hold open. And if I move it down, the bolt will close. But you saw how even with a round in the magazine and this on, it will not stop a round from coming out of the magazine. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I didn't press the go button. Wait a minute. Did it just stop a round from coming out of the magazine? Let's just get to the bottom of this. Okay. Round is in the magazine. Right. Even with it off, if I cycle the bolt, it will not. It automatically has a magazine cutoff. But if I pull the trigger, that round comes out of the mag and will be ready to cycle. So if the magazine cutoff, if the bolt hold open, so if what people are calling as a magazine cutoff was on when I pulled the trigger, that won't come out of there. But it does. There it is. But the bolt will not close. But the round does come out of the magazine. I'm glad we got to the bottom of that. It's speaking Italian to us. That's exactly what it's doing. A couple of interesting things I found. One was Bourbon Corporation versus the United States in 1960, September 27th, 1960. This is how long they've been around as an importer for Beretta. This was a lawsuit that they had. It's pretty interesting. Just because I was searching bourbon and Beretta, I found this. They weren't suing Beretta. They were suing for that, saying that they were being charged for the import taxes or whatever the hell was going on. That they were being something unfairly was going on with what they were being charged as an importer, and it had to do with the foreign value, and they were saying that they should be taxed on cost of production. I don't know. It's interesting. I have 2 pages of it here. It's just 6 pages, whatever. And if you're into kind of law stuff or these kind of little idiosyncrasies, I read through the whole thing. It kept my interest, and it was pretty cool about this lawsuit. And that's how long they were with Beretta. And then here I got these. They printed out really small. It's really tough to read them, so I'll just pull them up here on the screen. So it's 4 or 5 pages I found on one website that shows. Let's see here. They show the. Even I got to get in really close. It shows the 300, the 301, the 302, and the 303 in the different gauges and in 3 different languages. I think it's Spanish, English, and Italian. It shows the names of the parts and whether or not they're interchangeable. Because they're so close, the 300, the 301, the 302, and the 303 are so close that a lot of the parts do interchange, and this would clear up if you're looking for a part and you're like, can I use the one I saw one on eBay from a 300? Can I use it on my 302? Can I use it on my 303? This would be able to clear that up. So there's a bunch of pages of it here I'll run through. Whatever, just if somebody, you could look it up online too. I guess if you do enough Google searching and you're smart about it, you'll find it. I don't know what the URL was, but that could help somebody that's looking for parts. Bottom line, made in Italy, and they were not fooling around. This thing is robust. It's strong. It feels nice. It's a nice smooth action, and it's because it's made for 3-inch shells, 2 3/4, even stout 2 3/4 ones that without a butt plate. With a butt plate like this, sometimes I go home black and blue at the end of the day. Now with this guy, that's why, you get that nice cheek weld. You don't have to worry about it beating your cheek up. It feels nice and cushy when you shoot. You feel the springy action absorbs like 88%. That's where I go with. I'm going with 88% of the recoil. And these Italians know what they're doing. They definitely know what they're doing. But it's interesting to see like these different controls. There's a button here. There's a switch here. There's a button here. There's a safety. A lot of. All right, it's not really that much, but still, usually you just get a bolt and a button. I mean, that's usually all you're given. Sometimes you got like a lever that's a true magazine cutoff, like on the A5. But just having one other switch kind of like throws a monkey wrench into it. Like, what is that? And then you're calling it a magazine cutoff when it doesn't really affect the magazine. So that's causing confusion. And then this button, forget about it. Then people are just like, what the hell is going on? But remember, when you shoot doubles, remember that after you load, to press that to release that round, they say that makes the 1-2 punch quicker, snappier. Doesn't it make sense that if you had a round, what's going on? Doesn't it make sense? Doesn't it make sense that if you had a round in the magazine, that when you pull the trigger, that's so crazy. Watch that. See, watch that again. Watch. That's crazy. It's crazy that the trigger would control movement of a round from the magazine onto the lifter without any other bolt movement or recoil operation at all. Just trigger mechanism moves the round. Trigger mechanism coupled with magazine tube moves the round from the magazine tube onto the lifter. That's pretty wild. So supposedly you could ghost load these things also. So it only takes 3 in the tube, 1 in the chamber. Supposedly you can get 5 rounds out of it by loading the tube. Then you could get a round underneath the bolt on the lifter and then put 1 in the chamber and close the bolt and have it sit just like that. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I saw a video on that. I didn't even mess around with it. I don't really have oh wait, see, why isn't that working now? There we go. I'm trying to get my bolt hold open to work so I don't crush my snap cap anymore. I don't really have any 12 gauge snap caps anymore. They're all, what starts to happen to these things is, this is just an empty hull. I start using these after a while. These rims start to get chewed up. When they do that, you push them into the magazine tube, they get stuck in there. And that's annoying, especially for a gun like this where you don't have access without taking that thing off. That thing's a pain in the ass. One good thing about these aluminum ones is they don't seem to do that because the metal's so soft that they don't hold it in there. At least these two have been with me for a while. But I need some nice 12 gauge snap caps. I'm not using plastic junk. And I wish I can get a few more of these guys. Oh, realistic snap caps needs to come to the table with some 12 gaugers, huh? What do you think? So there we are, guys. Press the wrong button. See how this? I'll get it right. It's like when you learn a language, you call like a chandelier, a sneaker. I guess that's what happens till you really start knowing what you're talking about. I'm starting to learn the language of the Italian shotgun a little bit. And hope you enjoyed the Beretta model A303. That looks like a 302, but they didn't really get around to adding the 303 stuff yet. The 302, it's all, you can tell the difference. They're all ornate. They're very shiny. They're, like a very polished blue, and they have scrolling all over them. They really made it much more subdued here with the 303. They matted it out. You just put this box like a pinstripe around here. And they chilled out the look, which I like. I like it a little bit better. So it's kind of cool to have but I like the 302 controls. I do like that. And that's it. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate the new subscribers. Stick around. Got some cool stuff on the way.